The polls have swung more towards a Leave vote, causing jitters on the market, says Professor Iain Begg, LSE. Mario Draghi has said he will do whatever it takes to see growth with the ECB. How has the recent loan buying helped this?
The recent loan buying is one means by which the policy of quantitative easing is achieved. If the ECB buys loans, it should make it easier for governments to finance what they're doing, because buying the loans reduces the interest rate burden on the governments. And what he's hoping to do by this is to persuade, what he's trying to do with this is to persuade the banking sector to lend more readily to the private sector and thereby relaunch the economy through higher levels of investment.
The EU referendum is only a week away. What is the feeling in England on the weekly eve of the vote?
In the last few days, the polls seem to have swung a bit more towards a Leave vote, and that is causing real jitters on the markets, because if it means that a Leave vote is likely, it takes the UK into a period of uncertainty. Now, what is going on at the moment is quite difficult to read, because it seems to be a contest between a kind of emotional appeal to vote Leave on the grounds that Britain would regain sovereignty, would reassert its national identity, and would be able to control decisions on things like who comes into the country, which regulations are implemented, and so on. And on the other side, a sense that if Britain leaves the EU, it would be economically worse off. That's one of the reasons that the stock markets have reacted negatively to the prospect of Brexit. And this tension between the economic arm of this, let's call it the head, and the emotional side of it, the heart, seems to be how the vote has coalesced over the last few days. Now, much can change, because the polls are reflecting a push made by the Leave campaign in the previous week to emphasise the migration question. This week, the Labour Party has become much more active in trying to mobilise its own supporters who have been at risk of defecting to the Leave side, and we wait to see whether that has any resonance in the polls next week.
How could the UK benefit from a Canada-EU trade deal?
Well, several options have been discussed for how Britain's relations with the EU on trade and investment would evolve if Brexit were to occur. It seems to have been ruled out that the UK would have the same kind of status as Norway, which is full participation in the single market, but also continuing to pay towards the EU budget. And therefore, the other options that have been on the table are something similar to what Canada has, which is a free trade area. It's a bit less than Switzerland has, and a bit more than what would be on offer for the UK if it simply reverted to standard World Trade Organization rules. The big concern in Britain, especially in the financial sector, is that if it's a Canada trade deal, it would be one which excluded much of the financial services sector, on which Britain is very reliant because it's a major exporting sector. The consensus seems to be that a Canada deal would leave the UK economy somewhat worse off, and while it's likely to be the most attractive of the various options on the table, it's not one that gets over the problem that Britain would lose from Brexit.
A big thanks to our guest there, Professor Iain Begg from the London School of Economics. Well, that is all from me, Lucy Portman, for this week, but keep up with myself and Celeste Skinner next week for Everything FX. Bye for now.